Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I'm your Loremaster, here today for another video on one of the deities of Golarion. This week, we bring forth a favorite of everyone. After all, she is a deity of love, who even evil deities cannot help but love in their own twisted way. Shelyn, the deity of love, beauty, art, and music. Artists, let's get started. But first, allow me to paint a picture of where you may find beautiful information on the goddess herself. First, as always, the Gods and Magic books of both editions lay out the basic outline. It was in the second book of the Jade Regent Adventure Path, named Night of Frozen Shadows, where the shape and form started to be smoothed out, and was copied picture perfectly in Inner Sea Gods. More details were added in Faith's Purity, and the background was formed in plainer adventures. The finishing touches for today can be found in Book 3 of the Ruins of Azlanti Adventure Path, the Drowned Cathedral, as well as more typical places like Paths of Righteousness and, well, scattered places in Starfinder lore. I couldn't find one spot to just point to. Shelyn was twin to dual Brawl, and they shared between them the domain of beauty. However, after a fight, her brother disappeared to parts unknown, leaving her to sulk for centuries. However, worse still came when her brother came back, changed and warped in the form of Zon Kuthan. As her mother was killed, as her father was tamed, she confronted her brother, eventually leading to them fighting over the glaive he held in his hands. When she wrestled it away, she heard a whispering voice coming from within the weapon, the same whispering voice that most likely was responsible for her brother's madness. However, her will was too strong, and she tamed the spear for herself. Eventually, the two siblings would settle into an uneasy truce. But to this day, Shelyn still hopes to find a way to free her brother from the monster he has become. Shelyn has the appearance of a young woman, with either blue, silver, or heterochromic eyes. In art, she is usually shown to be human, most times Talon, but she can appear as any ethnicity and of every ancestry. She has ankle-length hair in any color, but it always contains strands of green, red, and gold. And she wears tasteful clothing and jewelry, showing her full beauty without revealing too much. Her body proportions, whether waithish, muscular, or thick, depend on the regional standard of beauty. She herself has a penchant to appear as a human woman of average proportions, but the way nature bends around her to fully show her beauty is captivating to all. However, she was not always like this. Which brings us to our first side tangent of the day, the part of the show when sad songs are our entire playlist. This week, Shelyn was a completely different person during the age of the Azlanti, and therefore deserves this little escapade for herself. Then, she was a minor goddess, and one of art, beauty, and music only. Brawl was her deific twin for part of these years. However, when he went missing, Shelyn fell into deep despair, and until Azlanti's fall, she would wear a veil and dark clothes to mourn her missing my tongue's twisted today. Her missing brother. All the music became so somber, and the paintings in dull shades. An extra fun fact, while I do not mention divine weapons much, before she wrestled the glaive away, her favorite weapon was a dagger. Shelyn and her brother just started as minor deities who were creators and protectors of beauty. However, with the death of her mother, Shelyn inherited authority over love. This is love in all its forms, though she tends to split the physical and lustful with Calistria. She herself prefers kindness and gentle emotions. However, everyone loves her, even the dark and evil deities, and they love her in twisted, uncomfortable ways. However, Shelyn has shown skill to fight her brother to a draw so she can hold her own against most. Most of her followers are dreamers, and she promotes this. It is not that she pulls them away from reality, calling them in safety of a dream, but instead she soothes reality, emphasizing the beauty which exists everywhere. Everyone loves Shelyn, and so every alignment has worshippers of her. Even evil people wish to have love and beauty in their lives. Same goes for all social statuses, from fine art to natural beauty. Everyone enjoys the sight of something. Some claim her faith is full of dreamers and fools, and you would be right. To them, love is a sword and a shield, food and drink, something they can sustain themselves on until they actually need to sustain themselves. However, with long-term worship comes practicality, and temper the journey of love with common sense. So, few have the ability to abandon everything for love. The most practical are devoted to the arts, putting focus on something more tangible than the intangible. That said, still many artistic worshippers starve for their work. Not because the gods ask for it, but because that is the depth of their love, and she understands. Shelyn, of course, puts emphasis on marriage for love, or if necessary, finding love outside of marriage. And she encourages parental love through having children. Which brings us to our second side tangent, where we look at what are known as devoted muse. Shelyn is connected to Tian and the Empire of Lair, where half a millennia of art was created and stored. Then, the same year as Eridan died, it fell, causing much of this art to be lost, or placed in a position where it would be destroyed. In response, these followers were dispatched to recover and protect priceless pieces. The muses are swashbucklers with spears, dancing around the battlefield to the point their attacks are works of art. The typical fighting style of these muses is to use their grace to place their opponents on their back foot before going in for a powerful strike. A clean, artistic finish. The clergy of Shelyn takes it upon themselves to protect art, to promote love and beauty, and to work to inspire others to joy. Most priests will eventually get married, but many refuse to limit their love to one person and enter polyamorous relationships. Priests each day work to create something. What it is different for each priest. Some are skilled with music, others the visual arts. Some specialize in teaching instead of doing, and some spend time at the theater. Some even work their bodies with dance or martial arts. All is beautiful for Shelyn. They also work to help those who are less attractive find their inner beauty while also finding ways to fix all that. That said, because much of this art is expensive, the clergy usually have some connections to nobility, though some do come from layfolk, sometimes. Temples of Shelyn are as one might expect. They are in marble, gardens of statues, paintings and sculptures, as if you're walking into a museum. Walls are covered in calligraphy from a holy book, because of course it is written in calligraphy. Some temples may be devoted to one kind of art, while large temples can hold many within. Many of these temples are also dedicated to the many Argathians who serve under Shelyn, and other Nirvana deities, of course, and they serve as the temple's patron saint, and usually have art related to them and their animal heads. There is little information about shrines, but when you operate on the large scale, the lay folk do tend to be left behind. Shelyn's domain is a valley in Nirvana, where Agathians spend their days reveling in the greatest of creation and beauty. All are blessed with dreams of this place, and many a dreamer are given blessings of walking through the flowers, often with deceased lovers by their side. Not that far away is another valley, barren but reserved, in hopes of the day her brother comes back to her. And as for the miscellaneous, starting with where she is worshipped, her reach is actually pretty small. Taldor, of course, is the center of her worship, where it was passed from there to Absalom. Gault, before the Red Revolution, was a place focused on the arts, and even now the worship is there, if not the practice. And despite Cheliax losing the religion, it was still passed to Sargava and its successor state of Vidrian. However, she also has worshippers within Tian, including the cultural center of Minkai, the peace-loving Huagat, the elf center Jinin, the celestial nation of Tianjing, and the land of enlightenment known as Ziha. Why not Amandar, distant cousin of Taldor? I'm not sure. Her holy book is the Melodies of Inner Beauty, which is more a collection of hymns than a prayer book. Her story is told in the form of song and poetry, though it tends to leave out the uglier parts. Finally, her holy day is Crystal Hue on the winter solstice, where people parade artistically designed crystals to scatter as much light as possible to chase back the shadows. It is also a day for lovers, but also of somber traditions of leaving a doll in the darkness, representing the goddess's wish to be reunited with her brother. Which, as per usual, this is the slot for Side Tangent 3. However, no divine fighting styles today. Shelyn prefers to end things peacefully. Instead, the ancient Tian tradition of the tea ceremony. One of the things Shelyn has authority over in Tianxi, the tea ceremony is, regardless of in our world or on paper, is a ritual and not just a production of tea. One needs to mix patience together with the precise gestures, the time to honor practices, and refinement beyond just a mere drink. It is artistry and symbology. In Tianxi, the Chowdao's tea ceremony allows those who are at the table to negotiate peacefully, and is important for both diplomacy and business negotiations. And romance, of course. You know what they say, chicks dig tea. I think people say that. However, an improper ceremony, especially one which is rushed, brings dishonor to all involved. Now time for her allies and relationship with other gods. First, her allies, we first have Phoenix Tail, a fiery-plumed Ebola bard. Master of calligraphy and painting, he uses his feathers to write magical items, but tends to go into extreme periods of mania and depression for his arts. Dancing Petal is an air elemental who loves everything. Her hobbies include any instrument she can get her hands on, dancing, children, people, and juggling. And Shelyn's herald is a spirit of adoration. Her appearance and its perfection is closer to what one would expect from a statue than actual flesh and blood. She is one of the nicest and most beautiful creatures in all of existence. Unless you try to destroy art, then your ass is the paint. For gods, every creature in existence loves her, and that includes deities. However, some evil deities' definition of love includes possession or defilement over actual love. She gets along swimmingly with the likes of Bolka, the dwarven deity of marriage, and her and Callistra split love and lust between them. Of course, there is no more which needs to be said about her relationship with her brother. Finally, her former agent Nadiri, now a deity of tragedy, who is on the run from the Eternal Rose, unable to forgive themselves, even though Shelyn is understanding and not angry about what Nadiri has become. Shelyn just wishes to keep her from falling into the clutches of evil, though that might be a taller order than she wishes it was. But that leaves one more side tangent, and I believe you know what it is. Shelyn is the last of the main gods who is not a main deity in Starfinder, but who is still mentioned. In her case, there is nothing to say she is not just as powerful as she is now. However, she has taken an active step to assist her brother. She has left the Pact World systems and is searching the void of space for the legendary location that Dubral went mad and became Zon-Kuthon. She still sends out blessings, and there are many large musical venues which serve as temples to her, like the beautiful Songbird Station. But she is currently on business elsewhere, and we all hope she comes out of this successfully. And on that note, we bring today's performance to an end. Feel free to leave your mediocre reviews of my performance. Next week, we are coming up on me finally trying to break down the Marauding Expanse after the book has been out for a year. Hey, I do not want to just chase a book for clout. I celebrate releases, but do not exploit them. But either way, before we break that down, we can move a single chunk away so we can talk about some lost kingdoms in the region. Bring an umbrella.